A Tennessee fisherman went to a lake last summer with two rods. On one, a $47 lure, that colorful thing with the resin eye, articulated tail, and factory smell. On the other, a piece of 0.80 stainless steel wire twisted by hand in less than 3 minutes. In 2 days, the wire won 11 catches to 3. It wasn't luck. It wasn't the spot. It was the fish themselves choosing. If you want to fish like this, sign up here. This isn't some internet gimmick. It's the same principle the Cherokees used before there were any fishing stores in the United States. But the industry made sure you forgot about it. And I'm going to show you why. If this is your first time here, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any secrets that stores try to hide. But before I show you how to do it, you need to understand where this knowledge came from. There's a story behind it that will make you angry at the manufacturers. The Cherokees fished in the rivers of the Great Smoky Mountains with a simple system. Thin copper wires extracted from plants and roots, twisted and bent at the end of the hook. It wasn't for lack of options, it was because it worked. The knowledge was passed down from grandfather to father, from father to son, without needing packaging or an instruction manual. In the Mississippi Delta, riverside fishermen in the early 20th century did the same thing with fence wire. They would take a piece, twist it, shape a small paddle at the end to create rotation, and throw it to the catfish and bass that lived in the slow bends of the river. Old men from the region still say that some would catch 15 or 20 fish in an afternoon using this contraption. And in the Appalachian interior, Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, hunters who lived far from any city made rudimentary spinnerbaits out of brass wire. They didn't have the money for imported lures, but they got results. An old Kentucky fisherman described it in a 1987 interview. He would take a piece of wire from his pocket, bend it twice, put a glass bead in the middle as a bearing, and the base would come. No color, no artificial smell, just the wire and the water. Researchers at the University of Tennessee documented in 2019 that this type of homemade spinner, virtually identical to what those old men made, was highly effective in clean river environments. It took about 30 years for science to confirm what the grandfather from Kentucky already knew. And you know what's most absurd about all this? This knowledge didn't disappear by accident. But before I tell you why nobody talks about this in stores, let me show you what happens underwater. Because when you understand the science, you'll know exactly how to bend the wire, where to throw it, and why the fish can't ignore it. This knowledge was kept secret for generations, while stores sold expensive substitutes. The link below has a complete guide for you to make your own lures and fish more while spending less. Just download it. Now, before we get to the step-by-step instructions, you need to understand the mechanism, because without understanding the why, you'll make mistakes when the time comes. The bass, the walleye, the catfish. They all have a sensory system called the lateral line. It's a series of specialized cells along the fish's body that detect vibrations in the water with incredible precision. It can sense pressure differences of millimeters. It can track an object moving meters away in total darkness. When a bent piece of wire spins in water, it creates low-frequency vibrations between 30 and 80 Hz, depending on its thickness and the speed of its recovery. This range is almost identical to the vibration a small fish creates when swimming injured or frightened. For the bass, it's the clearest possible signal. There's food here. Compare this to an expensive plastic lure. The injected plastic has an uneven density. The articulated tail creates vibrations above 120 Hz, outside the preferred range for active predation. The bass's olfactory chemoreceptors, which are in contact with the water during the bite, detect the synthetic polymer immediately. It bites, feels, releases. in less than 0.3 seconds. Stainless steel wire? Neutral. No factory smell. No polymer taste. Just vibration. Just flashes of light reflecting as it spins. Exactly like the scales of a small fish fleeing. 2 independent studies confirmed this. One from LSU Ag Center in 2021 and another from Michigan State University. Plain wire spinners, without artificial color or synthetic scent, had a 34% higher bite retention rate than articulated resin lures in the same environment. Bite retention means the fish bit and didn't let go before the hook was set. If it works so well, why doesn't anyone mention it when you go into a store? That's where the story gets interesting and a little annoying. The lure market in the United States generates more than $1.3 billion annually. That's not a typo. It's a billion with a capital B. A branded spinnerbait costs between $8 and $25. A roll of 0.8mm gauge stainless steel wire, enough to make about 40 lures, costs $3 at any hardware store. Do you know what you can't do with wire? Patent it? Do you know what you can't do with something without a patent? Build a brand, create consumer dependency, charge for proprietary technology. The major manufacturers invest heavily in marketing, sponsoring BASS tournaments, and making deals with fishing content creators. Every time a famous angler appears with that specific lure in hand, you associate the brand with the result. But what you don't see is that some of these guys use wire spinners before fishing, before the cameras even start turning on. There's no complex conspiracy here. The mechanism is simple. When one option has a company behind it and the other doesn't, guess which one appears on the shelf? Which one appears in the ad in your feed? Which one does the store employee recommend when you ask what's working? There's no seller for wire. That's why it's hidden away. But now you know, and the next step is to do it. So let's get straight to the point. You will need 0.8mm stainless steel wire, the kind used for jewelry or electronics, found on Amazon or any hardware store for less than $3 a roll, a size 4 or 6 hook, and optionally a glass or hard plastic bead for the pivot point. Step 1. Cut a piece of wire 12 to 15 centimeters long. This length is the ideal point. Too short, and it doesn't spin well. Too long, and it loses vibration. Step 2. Bend at a 45-degree angle to approximately 1/3 of the total length. This angle is what generates the rotation. Too wide, and the wire only oscillates. Too tight, and it locks. 45 degrees is the working point. Step 3. At the longer end, make a small loop with needle nose pliers. The monofilament or fluorocarbon goes through there. The hook goes directly into the shorter end. Step 4. If using a glass bead, it goes between the handle and the bend point. It acts as a bearing, improving rotation and creating extra flash mimicking scale reflection. This bend ratio I use here is one of the techniques in the complete guide. It includes variations in angle and size for walleye, crappie, and river trout. Total cost of the bait, less than €0.20 or tate per unit. Makes 20 on a rainy afternoon. If you want to enhance it, you can add emergency reflective tape. Increases the flash in dark or murky water. Dry fly hook with a natural feather on the hook. Imitates an insect that has fallen on the surface. Strong response in trout streams. In fishing, constant retrieval, medium speed. No special action needed. The best times are early morning and late afternoon, when the bass are actively feeding. The most common mistake is retrieving too quickly. If the line isn't spinning, you've gone too fast. Feel the vibration in the rod. It has to be there all the time. Now imagine applying this to your next outing. Click now, secure your access to high-level fishing, and let these strategies start transforming your next fishing trips. The link is in the first pinned comment. When you return from the water applying what you've learned, come back here and comment, "I caught more." That will be your commitment to your evolution in fishing. And perhaps it's exactly the step that separates the stories you hear from the stories you'll start telling. Think about your next fishing trip. While the others spend $25 on resin-articulated lures, you use a wire spinner that costs $0.08. In 2 hours at the lake, you catch 11 fish compared to 3. Your friends will ask for your secret. You decide whether to tell them. The fishermen who truly master the water aren't the ones with the most expensive equipment. They're the ones who understand what the fish want, and they don't need anyone to sell that to them. The Cherokees didn't need it. The old men of Appalachia didn't need it. And now you don't need it either. This knowledge is priceless. It never has been. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video.